Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Muralikrishnan from Los Angeles. How is everyone doing? And this is a beautiful, bright day in LA. We were expecting a big rain, but today was a lot better. It was a bright day. And actually, half an hour ago, I had a big jolt of earthquake also. It just scared me a little bit, but it was only 4.5, so it was not too bad. So we are all alive and safe, so nothing to worry about. And very glad to welcome you all to celebrate Women's History Month with yet another episode of incredible women in the field of media, news, and radio, sponsored and supported by Spring Nectar Foundation for Indian Music and Heritage. As our audience get together to watch this episode, let me tell a brief about what's going to happen in today's broadcast. Anytime women come together with a collective intention, it's such a powerful thing. Whether it's sitting down making handcraft items, cooking food in the kitchen, or preparing a meal, hanging out with their peers on the girls' night out or girls' day out, or reading the same book, getting together around the table, talking, chit-chatting, and laughing as a group of friends, or even planning a simple birthday party. When women come together with a collective intention, magic happens there. Do you think so? I think so. So hopefully you all believe that too. Do we know that the women who break down their barriers are those who create a better world for themselves and for others around them? Eleanor Roosevelt once said that well-behaved women rarely make history. Rarely, in that quote, the word rarely kind of caught my attention. Eleanor Roosevelt was the first lady of the United States from 1933 to 1945 during her husband, President Franklin D. Roosevelt's 4 terms in office. She lived in the early 19th century. Probably it was true at that time of what she said about the word rarely. But we live in the 21st century. The word rarely is never there anymore. I feel that. Every woman, whether they are well behaved or not, does make history. Take it, and this is my quote for today. Subramanya Bharatiyar, who lived from, I think, 1882 to 1921, had a dream about empowering the women and wrote a beautiful poem. ஏட்டையும் பெண்கள் தொடுவது தீமை என்றெண்ணி இருந்தவர் மாய்ந்து விட்டார். வீட்டுக்குள்ளே பெண்ணை பூட்டி வைப்போம் என்ற விந்தை மனிதர் தலை கவிழ்ந்தார். பட்டங்கள் ஆழ்வதும் சட்டங்கள் செய்வதும் பாரினில் பெண்கள் நடத்த வந்தோம். எட்டும் அறிவினில் ஆணுக்கிங்கே பெண் இளைப்பிள்ளை காணென்று கும்மியடி. It was a kummi song, a beautiful kummi song. A girl sent to school to get an education was considered unaccepted in society and was prohibited at that time. I'm talking about, 1882, late 18th century, early 19th century. Yeah, that was very unfair. The girls were kept indoors to get trained by their mothers and grandmothers, and after marriage by their mother-in-laws to take care of the male member of the household, such as their fathers, brothers, after marriage their husbands, father-in-laws, grandfathers, and all the male members of the family. So, Bharatiyar wrote this poem as the dream of his future by seeing women getting educated and graduating from universities to get higher education, studying law, being in politics, and other highly regarded positions to take over not only in their household but the entire community, country, or even the world. It was his dream, and his dream definitely is coming true, or I would say partially came true in the 21st century. Don't you agree with me? For every young girl and woman, I reinstate that the biggest adventure you can ever take is to live the life of your dreams, whatever that dream can be. Don't be intimidated by what you do not know or what a man says that you must do. That can be your greatest strength and ensure that you do things differently from everyone else to achieve your dreams. There is a strong belief or a myth by people believing that men are by nature merely indifferent to one another, but women are by nature enemies. What kind of myth is that? I read about that poem and I was shocked to hear that. Women are enemies to each other? But I'm not sure who created this myth or statement or the quote. They created that feeling in women so that we live the life that they expect us to live, always thinking that we are enemies to each other. Are we enemies to each other? No, 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 we are not. Dear ladies, young girls, hear me out. You might be one of the women leaders in Fortune 500 companies or just a young school-going girl who is watching this, what I'm talking. Please listen to me. We are not enemies of the women's community. If you find if you find any woman achieving something in front of your eyes, please appreciate her. If a girl makes it to get to the greatest heights of her dreams in your community, please appreciate her. If you find a lady dressed up well and tugged herself up with beautiful makeup, jewelry, and gorgeous silk attire at a party or an event you are attending, please appreciate her. Instead of feeling jealous, please try to appreciate her so that we can disprove to the world the myth or the statement that women are enemies for each other. We have to disprove it. Of course, we are aware that women are expected to live the life men created for them in almost every society. How wrong it is for a woman to expect the man to build the world she wants to live in rather than for her to create the one by herself. So create the world what you want, ladies. I love this day to celebrate Women's History Month. Every week of this month of March, with all of you, and it was so beautiful. Every weekend I come and talk to you like this. I'm not against men or men's ideologies. I love my husband, my dad, my brothers, my son, and all my men friends. But this is, in some of the communities, the women are kept a little bit less than what they deserve. This is for those men who think that they are less, that I'm speaking out all this. Did you know Women's History Month started as Women's History Week? Women's History Month began as a local celebration in Santa Rosa, California. That's my state. Very proud and happy to find out that this legendary celebration was originated and initiated in my own state where I live in currently. The Education Task Force of Sonoma County, California Commission on the Status of Women planned and executed a Women's History Week celebration in 1978. I just wanted to give a brief why I'm talking this much about women. But why is a Women's History Month in March? Why not in any other month? By the 1970s, American feminist group extended the now mainstream International Women's Day to Women's History Week, an effort to amplify women's history in schools, basically. In 1975, the United Nations moved to formally sponsor an annual celebration of International Women's Day on March 8th. The force behind the movement made itself irresistible, and as more and more groups began celebrating the full week, as well as lobbying for it to be nationally recognized, the 39th President of the United States, President Jimmy Carter, designated the first National Women's History Week, the week including March 8th, in I think 1980. Women's history observations snowballed from there. By 1986, 14 of the states in the United States recognized March as Women's History Month, and the next year, the U.S. Congress established Women's History Month as an annual federally recognized observance. Thereafter, each U.S. president since 1995 had issued a yearly proclamation honoring the role of American women in history. It's actually created as a chance to recognize women's varied and often under recognized accomplishments throughout the history. It is celebrated with television specials, political speeches, classroom learning, many women's initiatives over social media posts intended to honor the special women in everyone's life, and also like what we do here today, and authoritative leaders of the society or community to bring high achieving women such as these four incredible women that I'm going to be bringing in today in the live broadcast and the discussions with their hard earned achievements to share it with our next generation to show them how they did it. In today's episode, we are meeting four amazing, beautiful, and successful, incredible women who had contributed their outstanding works, talents, and abilities in the field of media, news, and print industry, radio, and you name it. And I have four of them. I just wanted to name them before I bring them in. Vandana Kumar, founder and CEO of India Currents. Nimmi Raghunathan, chief editor at India West. RJ Sudha, founder and host of Tamizh Suvai radio. And Deepa Bharath, religion reporter and writer from the Associated Press. Without much ado, let's start the celebration of Women's History Month. First, I would like to welcome Deepa Bharath on world stage. Deepa Bharath is an award-winning newspaper reporter with 20 plus years of experience working for publications in Southern California. Deepa is a reporter of Associated Press's global religion team. Deepa started her career as a reporter with Daily Pilot, Los Angeles Times Community News, for 4 plus years, then as a staff reporter with the Daily Breeze with Southern California news groups for about 16 plus years before joining the Associated Press. Yes, prior to taking on this role in, I think, February 2022, Deepa was a staff reporter, staff writer for the Orange County Register, and she, I think, Southern California sector news group for 16 plus years, where she covered a number of beats, including religion, race, cultures, demographics, and social justice issues, health, and city government, so on and so forth. So many. I remember she even interviewed me before Vice President Kamala Harris took over as Vice President of the United States. I remember just a short interview with her. And Deepa is a very passionate, she's very, very passionate about everything. That's what I know her as. But her most passion is languages, music, and tennis. Let's give a big round of applause and welcome Deepa on the world stage. Deepa.
Hi, Rose.
How are you, Ma?
Thank you. Thanks so much for that kind
Beautiful. Wonderful to see you, and I'm going to introduce all our rest of our crew and beautiful women, and then we'll start our celebration pretty soon. Thank you so much for joining, Deepa.
Thank you.
And next I'm going to be bringing our radio jockey, RJ Sudha. RJ Sudha was born in Gujarat and raised in Chennai. That's my place too. RJ Sudha has an undergrad in math and a postgrad in computer science, both from the University of Madras. Okay, legacy. I was from the University of Madras too. She moved to the San Francisco Bay Area to join her husband. After working briefly in India, she worked for several small to large telecommunications companies and also led several workshops for women's empowerment. She was always passionate about teaching throughout her life and was keen on instilling STEM in young girls. She left her thriving career to do the same, but as a fate would have it, life took a slight detour, and before she began her teaching journey, she became a RJ and radio jockey with absolutely zero footprints. When she started her radio journey 5 years ago, RJ Sudha had to build social media empire one follower at a time. Can you believe that? One follower at a time, one day at a time. I'm really proud of her. Pre-COVID, she worked in studio at the Radio Mirchi 1310 station, bringing in impactful guests, high-profile artists, top entrepreneurs, scientists, realtors, and educators, thinkers, and social change makers. This helped build her base and social presence that helped her during and post-COVID. She now runs her own radio show from home, teaches coding for high schoolers, and also spoken English for students in villages of Tamil Nadu. She is also actively involved with several nonprofit organizations. RJ Sudha is mostly joined on air by her humorous husband, RJ Venki. I had seen several of her shows. It was always beautiful to hear them both. It's always beautiful. Let's give a big round of applause and welcome RJ Sudha on the world stage. Hi Sudha, how are you, Ma? Of course, you deserve a lot more than that. I only have a little brief. Thank you so much for joining us today, Sudha. And
I'm humbled. Lot of my co-panelists extremely high, well versed, and been listening for so long.
I'm really excited to hear you all out and what you have to offer for the next generation. So, let me take a brief time and bring all the other beautiful, incredible women, and then we'll start our show pretty soon. Thank you so much for joining, Sudha. That's really amazing. Next, I will be bringing in our special chief editor of India West, Nimmi Raghunathan. Nimmi Raghunathan is the chief editor of India West, published from Southern California. She edited works on religion and politics. Nimmi published 2 books related to Indian philosophy. Indian philosophy is very close to my heart. Because in my bachelor's degree, my ancillary subject was Indian philosophy. So, Nimmi, I'm really happy that, you published I really have to, I just came to know about it today, and I'm going to be purchasing your books, please keep a copy for me so I can read that and I can enjoy that. She published in several other magazines like The Weekly and Hinduism Today. She served as a panelist, a speaker, moderator in different forums on media on women's rights issues. She is one of the biggest, I am a biggest fan of hers, like whenever I see her, I just lose myself. She's been profiled in magazines and also in books that have focused on Los Angeles Indian Americans. She has traveled extensively internationally. She has a deep interest, including history and gardening that I just recently started this spring, like a week, 2 weeks ago. So gardening, I just started. Let's see what happens to my, like a little tomato plants and all these little plants, which is still down there on the ground. She is married and she has one amazing daughter. And I knew that little girl. Now she is grown up and all, and she's one of the best little girls ever I had known in my life. Let's put our hands together and give a big round of applause and welcome Nimmi Raghunathan on the world stage. Hi, Nimmi.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
I can't wait to have those discussions on philosophy with you and also to have the tomato salad with you.
Awesome. Really, I have some questions on that, on Indian philosophy. I don't know whether it's going to be relevant to today's topic, but I will just throw it on you and you have to answer me on that. Beautiful, Nimmi. I have one more guest. I'm going to bring her in and then we can start our discussions. Thank you so much for joining us. Amazing. And next I'll be bringing in the founder, president, and CEO of India Currents, Vandana Kumar. Vandana Kumar is a publishing executive with a 35-year track record in the print industry in India Currents. She leads the India Currents Foundation as president and CEO. As a new immigrant, she co-founded India Currents magazine in 1987 and published an award-winning print magazine from April 1987 to December 2017. Fully digital today, India Currents has the largest following among Indians in the United States. I'm a big fan of India Currents too. And it is indexed by LexisNexis and the Ethnic Watch database. Vandana has won the Asian American Hero Award from the county of Santa Clara and the Leadership Business Award from the California Legislature Assembly. Vandana cares deeply about social justice and serves on the Friends of PACT Advisory Board. Vandana is an ALF Fellow Class 39 of the American Leadership Forum. Vandana is President Emeritus Board of Directors of Narika. Let us put our hands together and give a big round of applause and welcome Vandana Kumar on the world stage. Hi Vandana, how are you, ma? Beautiful to see you today.
Thank you, Rose.
Thank you so much for accepting to join us today to share your experiences and expertise with all of us. I really, really appreciate to taking the time to join us, Vandana.
Thank you for a very introduction.
With pleasure. You deserve a lot more than that. I had to shrink it for this particular broadcast, so I kind of hid most of it. But you definitely deserve a 2-day long speech from me to say about everything about you. Thank you again so much. Let me bring all our guests so that we can start our panel today. And I have Nimmi, and I have RJ Sudha, and I have Deepa, the entire team. How beautiful, incredible women. Let's give a big, big, big round of applause for all of them. Thank you all for joining me, and I really, really appreciate all your time you take on a Friday night to give us your inputs for our next generation youngsters to how you made it to where you are today. Thank you again. And so let's start with our questions. The first question I have is for Vandana. What is India Currents? And please tell us a bit about India Currents' history.
I echo.
Oh, you have an echo? Okay, so what I'm going to suggest is when somebody speaks, the rest of us will be muting ourselves. And then when you speak, please make sure to unmute. So I think what happens is in the panel, it takes the sound from the computer and then it throws on back on us. So we will try to do that and we should be okay with that.
Thank you. It started in 1967 as a labor of love.
This was not a business proposition. We did not create a business plan, figure out what's the ROI on this business. We started it because nobody was telling stories about us. And because nobody else was, so we started it. And at that time, Rose, I have to say that we had no idea that this would survive for 35 years. And but yet here we are. So we clearly hit upon a nerve with the community. And our model was, we provided a platform and we showcased other people's voices. We didn't have an office, we had a reporter and all of that would go out and do the stories. That wasn't our format. Largely a question of economics. We didn't have any money. So what we did is necessity is the mother of invention, right? So we said, let's ask other people to tell. We don't have to pay them, That's how we started. And today there is a term for it, right? We call it crowdsourcing. But honestly, we were crowdsourcing before there was even a term for it. But we started out with a print magazine, and for many years, and honestly, at our peak, we were printing, mailing, and distributing 30,000 magazines every month, free to the end user. That's a lot of money.
I remember that. I'm with you guys from day one. We used to put our little, we started around the same time too. I used to put on the calendar events a tiny bit of, okay, who is Rose Muralikrishnan, who is N Muralikrishnan. I remember that, those days.
I very much remember that. And
we got a lot of support from the community. And hence we survived. But, the winds of change affects everybody, and the change that came with the internet and social media, the entire media industry was upended. We were not immune to that. And while our only source of revenue was advertising, that took a big hit. And at some point, we started wondering, is this worth doing? Do people really even care anymore? Because it's been like 3 decades. Or have we really arrived at this post-racial moment in time, right? That nobody needs India Currents anymore or anything like India Currents, because all our stories are being told by the New York Times or the Washington Post, which now have stories about the South Asian community. But you know, the pandemic happened and a really interesting thing happened. At that time, we started getting deluged. And I kid you not when I don't use the word loosely. We were drowning in the content that was coming from our readers. It was a sea change, you know. It was occasional, periodic, and all that. And we were wondering what the heck happened? What's happening? But people were writing to us saying that, you know, at a time when we were new in this country, India Currents was the place we turned for resources. At this moment in time, when our lives are uncertain, we are turning to you again. And that, Rose, is an amazing validation from the community. And it's just so inspirational for our team because we were all struggling. We were all struggling. You know, there's no shying away from that. But we said we make a difference. So there is still need for this to continue. And so we have continued, we have reinvented ourselves, we have found new streams of revenue, and it's a work in progress. But for your listeners out there, for your watchers, I'd say check out India Currents, indiacurrents.com.
Of course, of course. That's why you're all here. So you know, you guys are all pioneers in what you're doing. And India Currents, as you know, you mentioned, as I knew, you know, we are all like a more than 3-decade-old people in this country. So we exactly knew how, from day one, from the start, how it was. You know, because we were the strugglers too at that time. We were all in our maybe 20s or mid-20s or early 20s, growing up together, figuring out our own things, like what to do. I mean, with whatever we knew. You probably from the print industry or from journalism. I'm from classical music of India, that too, South Indian classical music, and nobody cared about those kind of little things in this country because we are not mainstream, especially me, I'm talking about. And then, so we have to struggle to come to where we are today. And that's one thing that why I brought you all, you know, like how you all made it and still surviving, you know, in a very strong manner. And the next generation must know, you know what, keep thriving, keep doing it. It doesn't matter how many times we fall, we have to get up and keep doing it. You know, that definitely amazed me. Look at, you know, how you all did it. That was one of the reasons I really wanted to bring, you know, all these beautiful women from you know, media to how, I mean, right now, when we came here, we have to go with the AOL, we have to plug it into the phone line to get the internet, and it'll give that kind of sound, and that'll take, just to come be there on internet for 30 seconds, we have to wait for 1 hour waiting for that to, you know, log us in. So we were in that kind of period, and what they all have right now, we never had it. But you all still made it into this world of media industry as biggest personalities, and that's what I wanted you all to talk to the next generation. They have to know about it, how we survived when there was nothing available for all of you. And the next question I have is for Nimmi. What is the role of a community newspaper?
To be the voice of the community, Rose. You know, it's as simple and as complicated as that. You know, we strive to reflect. Yes, Vandana, by the way, I love India Currents. I've always read it. Yeah, so we strive really to reflect what the community is thinking, feeling, doing, you know, what its concerns might be, you know, whether it's hate crime or visa delays or whatever it might be. But I think it also is about marking what it celebrates, right? Not to that I don't think there's a bigger example of what the community has celebrated recently. I mean, we ran weeks of those Oscar stories. So I think that is one of the prime things that we really try to do. Another thing that we take really seriously is to see if the international and national news, how it applies to the community, right? So, for instance, how does someone suing the Ivy League, about admission process affect your kid at home? How does the H4 visa that was just, the Obama rule that just got reinstated 2 days ago, how does it affect your spouse? So we try to reduce those larger issues to how it applies to your home and to your community. Another thing, and this is something that I've been thinking about, and I think this was a more natural outcome, and I was listening to what Vandana was saying too. But I think what has happened is the newspaper has become a record keeper of the community. We've been publishing for so long that you can actually see the journey of the community, right? Where, we started small, and look where we are. So it's the changing demographics, the character, the aspirations, how it's changed over the decades. I mean, I remember even, for instance, my namesake, and I think some of you here may remember her, Nimmi McConaughey. She ran for political office in Wyoming. I mean, she came here for a fundraiser. She was this rare, exotic bird, in a sari saying, I want to run. And we're like, what are you talking about? But look now where we are, right? So here we are thinking about, what else can we get? We have more than 50 state legislators now from the Indian American community. So I think in a strange fashion, though that was not the plan, I think we have become record keepers. So I think we are serving that an unintended way. We are serving the community in that way too. So I think those are the roles we really try to fulfill.
Awesome. How beautiful. You really meant what you said about the record keeping. I'm still an oldie. I mean, I can just, change my hair color to blonde and put makeup to look young and all that. But still inside me, I'm one of those oldies used to cut those newspaper cuttings. I still have all those in my filing cabinet. Yes, I'm telling you, when you used, when India West used to be, before the merge, you were with the India Journal, right? Yeah. So I had the cuttings from India Journal, from India West, and at that time, like only 2 or 3, and from Vandana's India Currents, all those little cuttings of my little advertisements to my write-ups, whatever you guys gave for our concerts. All of them. I have it in a big file like this. It is a record keeper, and I sincerely record kept all that.
Wonderful.
So anytime you wanted to see a live hot copy, just let me know. I will bring those copies to you all. That's really beautiful to hear out, Nimmi. Thank you so much. That's a beautiful information. And the next question I have is for RJ Sudha. Sudha, you used to be an IT professional. I can't believe it. From IT to a radio host. How and why did the transformation happen?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now, Rose? Can you hear me? Okay.
I'm muted and answering, so you couldn't hear me. Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So thank you for the question, Rose. So I was working for, let's say, on average, 13 to 14 hours every day on weekdays, and perhaps even working over the weekends as an IT professional, and not getting a fair share in promotions, and that were promptly given away to men. I don't want to name the race. Being a woman and being a woman of color, I was never getting a chance to get promoted. I was only reaching up to a certain stage in the corporate American ladder. And it made me wonder, where was this whole career heading to? And am I even getting anywhere in my career? And am I going to just be slogging off in this life And so I wasn't sure a certain way of getting. I was getting my periodic paychecks, yearly reviews, and flowery reviews, etc. Or I just wasn't sure if I want to leave everything behind or go after my passion, as I said in my intro about teaching. So I had a chat with my boss, and I told him, you know what, I don't want to be, I don't want to be stuck in this job. If I were to be run over by a truck tomorrow, I don't want to be a person who wrote fantastic code. I just want to be remembered as a person who left behind a legacy. I want to be remembered as a person who did something to the community, and not somebody who wrote code and who wrote wonderful code. And he was like shocked. He said he has never seen anybody who spoke like this so bluntly. And so I quit my job in order to start my own math or coding center. I spoke to several of such franchises to get an idea on what it takes to start a coding center or a math tutoring center, etc. So what I did was I walked up to a nearby math tutoring center. I wanted to talk to the owner of this company, and I opened the door. The door wouldn't open. Apparently, they start the center only at 3 o'clock. And then I look around, and the adjacent building was a Radio Mirchi 1310 building. I just walk up to that next building, and I open the door, and the door opened. They say when God closes one door, he opens another door. So I made a door open for myself. And I walked up that office, and the door opened. And what happened is this Radio Mirchi station, I talked to this gentleman called SP Singh, who happens to be the president and CEO of this Radio Mirchi station. And we spoke at length at so many topics, politics, religion, global warming, sports, technology, finance, and all that. I like to read. I'm very up to date on sports, thanks to Vandana, Kumar, thanks to all of you in this board. And I keep up to date on, Apple News and all that. I know what's happening. So I was able to make a decent conversation with him. And he said, you seem to be knowing quite a lot about what's going on around. Why don't you run a Tamil radio show in my station? Because all that we have is Punjabi radio and Hindi radio, but having a Tamil
awesome. That's beautiful.
I just want to leave the place. I just want to run away from that place. I don't know. I'm not that kind. I can run meetings at work, and I can talk to customers and all that. But no way I'm going to be running a radio show. He said, Naiji, you can run a show. I can tell you can run a show. You have the confidence to run the show. I don't know. Okay, let me. I was frantic. I just walked away from the thing, saying, okay, I'll get back to you. I'll talk to my husband and get back to you. And then I talked to my husband. I talked to my brother. I talked to my father. I talked to my daughter. Everybody. And they all come together and say, what's stopping you from making this decision? Just say yes. And and then that's about it. And afterwards, I just kept quiet. And then it so happened that a few days later, a celebrity RJ from Chennai called RJ Balaji. I'm sure some of you might have heard about it. I'm sure, Rose, you have heard about him. RJ Balaji visits ICC, the India Community Center, and he is in town. And I decided I'm going to send some kind of a promo about my show. And he says, RJ Balaji, I met him in person, and says, I tell him I'm going to be starting a Tamil radio show here in Milpitas. This is called Tamizh Suvai Radio. And the first thing he says is, can I come and talk in your show? I thought, wow, what's happening? What's going on? And all of a sudden, things start building up. Suddenly, one person, SP Singh, tells me, okay, can you become a radio host? And then the celebrity radio host, RJ Balaji, comes in and tells, can I come and talk? And then it was almost like destiny telling me that, okay, you're destined to be a radio host. You're destined to make some impact in this world. Exactly what I meant or dreamt to be. So all the things came together. And there I was running my first radio show, and I was on air the next Saturday, and things just fell in place, and there was no looking back.
Wow. How beautiful. I mean, that's such an inspiring, start. That's very beautiful. Amazing, Sudha. I'm really,
while we were discussing how myself, Sudha, whatever. Then comes and says, I'm going to give you a name called Arjit.
So he named you. Awesome. How beautiful. How beautiful. That's really amazing. Very inspiring. Beautiful, beautiful, very beautiful. And the next question is for Deepa Bharath. And Deepa, how did you get interested in religion reporting, and how is it different from other types of reporting?
Well, thank you so much, Rose. Thanks for having me. And I just wanted to start out by just giving a shout out to all the other wonderful women here today. I think a lot of people think it's easy to cover your own community, but I know that's not true at all. It's joyful, but it's also very complicated, and it's a big responsibility. So I think really, I salute all of you for doing that so well. Well, religion reporting, I think I always tell people that I started when I was a kid, really, because I grew up in a very religious family, in a very traditional South Indian family. And, I grew up asking a lot of questions and a lot of, annoying people. And I continue that to this day. So that's pretty much it. That's my story. I asked a lot of annoying questions. But on a serious note, I think religion permeates through all topics. I mean, religion intersects with politics, it intersects with education, health, you name it, music, show business, whatever, right? So I think, when you cover religion, you cover a little bit of everything. And that's what I really like about religion reporting. And also, I think when you talk about religion, a lot of people are really intimidated. Even journalists I've seen are intimidated to write about religion because it's uncomfortable to talk about a lot of times. And to me, that is the biggest appeal. It's like, something is so uncomfortable to talk about, it must be important, right? I mean, so I think it also, when you put yourself in that vulnerable situation and talk about, and you can sit in that discomfort, I think that's really important to saving democracy. The kind of tension you see around religion or caste or whatever the issue is in India and the US and other countries, I think that starts from the lack of being able to have civil dialogue and to be able to sit down as people and talk about uncomfortable things. And I think that is key to democracy. That is key to preserving democracy in any country that wants to have democracy. So I think that's why religion reporting is so important. I think that's why I'm passionate about it. And a lot of people think religion reporting is just about, covering festivals. It's about writing about the Diwali or, writing about Christmas or writing about individual cultures. But I think it's a lot more than that. One of the stories, for example, that I wrote recently was about that pertained to the Indian community was about the swastika. Is it salvageable as a religious symbol anymore? And so for that story, I talked to Buddhists, I talked to Hindus, Jains, and how and Native American communities that also value the swastika, and I spoke with Holocaust survivors as well. So it's a complex topic that I think unless we get in and write about and discuss these issues, it's not going to get talked about. And that's my motto, is to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I mean, that's the only way to do it, right?
Wow, that's really amazing. I mean, that's definitely, and as you said, you can also, like being an Indian, talking about the Indian, religion. We ourselves have more than 10 to 15 religions in our country. You might go, if you talk about one particular religion, the others might say, oh, I hate Deepa. That instantly you can get that hate vibe, and then if you talk about the other religion, you can get, from the third party and the fourth party, and we have 15 different parties. And it is definitely, I mean, as you were speaking only, I started realizing, oh, how complicated topic that was. And to be a religion reporter, how much you have to face. I didn't even realize about that details, that you gave me a knowledge about it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And the next question is for Vandana. How did the pandemic affect India currents? Of course, you spoke very briefly about it. So, like, how did it affect, and was it easy for you to get back to it right away, or it took a while, or it did better for you? I know you did speak a little bit about it, and so I just wanted the people to know in detail about what is that you went through.
Here
goes.
how
How
much
much
time
time
do
do
we
you
have?
have?
Because I can tell a lot of stories. But I think I go back to what I said during COVID.
COVID.
So we don't have the time limit, so you are free to go as long as all our four women are with us. Like we can. This is our discussion, and so we wanted to create this discussion for our next generation, of course, for the current generation to know, what you all have to offer. So there is no rush at all. So you're free to go.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I don't
I
want to
don't.
keep everybody up. It is Friday night after all. But, on a more serious note, I talked about our revenue model. You know, we were printing, mailing, distributing, no cost to the end user. It was all supported by advertising revenue from small businesses. Rose, you had been a regular advertiser, as were many, many, many small businesses. And we are incredibly grateful for the support that people like you gave to our initiative. And we played a role in uplifting India's heritage, the arts, the culture. And I really do believe, I'm going to take that credit myself, is that we really played a role in uplifting the classical arts in California in particular. This is where we were. But we were really struggling because that revenue model did not work anymore. Producing a print magazine, and Nimmi, if you guys are still doing it, you know what it takes. I'm not sure that you still have a print, but the sunk cost, because you have to pay a printer, you have to pay distributors, you have to pay the United States Postal Service. There's no getting away from that. Then where are you going to come up with? That's the sunk cost and everything related with production. So we made the decision, like I knew that decision was looming. I was just trying not to do it because I loved the print product. It was familiar, it was tactile, it felt real. And but I knew that that model couldn't continue. So we were thinking about what to do. So the first decision we made is let's become fully digital. Many people told us, oh, so this is like your end. This is the end of India Currents. It sort of hurt a little bit, to hear that. But I also realized nobody else was actually putting in, people always wanted the stories to be told, but they were not thinking, how is it actually happening? Because we sort of became something that people took for granted. And in a way, it's a good thing, right? Like we were always there. And, but people didn't think about what it took. So that's why it hurt, to feel like people are saying, like, this is the end. And maybe I thought maybe it is the end, who knows? Maybe it is the end. So, but the pandemic happened, and I realized that the community still wanted us and they still needed us. But I told my team, I was like literally told everybody, I can't afford to pay anyone. Even now for the last 3 years, I've been a volunteer. I work more than full time. We don't have the money to pay everybody. So I said, I can't afford to pay you, so I'm sorry I have to let all of you go. But I tell you, what an amazing team we have. They said, well, you can't lay us off because we're not gonna leave. We're gonna continue the work. You don't have to pay us. You go find the money. And so now I didn't have to think about the editorial. I didn't have to think about the logistics. We'd had 1 year in which we learned how to function in a digital, as a digital magazine. Now, remember, when all of you who have worked in offices, you can walk from desk to desk and talk to people, and you have processes, everything for a different kind of work. Suddenly, we were trying to do everything in the digital world. So, in a way, it's like starting a new business but having the brand recognition of a 30-year-old company. So that definitely helped. And the pandemic, what I did, I'd been reading what other organizations are doing, and I realized that the nonprofit model was one that was exploding across the country. And so then I studied for the next 2 years. I basically studied trying to understand what it would require. And I reached out to during one of my conversations, I spoke with a publisher of another nonprofit media. And I asked him, how do you do? He says, ask your readers for support. I said, oh, our readers are not going to support. They're not going to give us anything. I've tried to ask them for money. It's never really worked. He said, well, that's your best bet because that's the model that nonprofit works on. So I had nothing to lose, Rose. I'd reached that point where I had nothing to lose. So I said, I don't have any technology. I don't have anything. So we created he said, figure it out. So I said, okay, I'm going to figure this out. So I created a PayPal address. I sent an email to my readers saying, hey, we are hurting. And would you help?
And I missed getting that email. I didn't get it. I would have definitely come forward. I did not get that because I mean,
no, but many people did. And
like
$8,000
from our readers in the next 10 days. And suddenly I had an aha moment. It's like, oh, maybe this will work. And so then I invested much more into that. We got the appropriate platforms that we needed. We've invested a lot in technology and just to make a lot of stuff better. And so for us, the pandemic showed us a path forward. I know it's kind of weird, but that's how it really did. And
Nimmi, your publisher,
I think Mr. Chug was also one of our supporters, And after that, we do fundraising campaigns. We've run 2 around at the end of the year. We sign up and get some additional matching funds, and that's how we're running. We are getting reader support. We are also getting grant money now.
We've been a number of
we got selected for the Google News Initiative Digital Labs, where they're working with legacy media and helping the digital transformation. So there's been a lot. It's been a very exciting time for us, especially in the last 2 years, because we see the results of all the hard work that the team has done sort of start paying off.
Beautiful, beautiful. How neat is that? See, there is always a way. We have to find it. It's always, they say that there is always a way. Sometimes we don't see that way. So when we keep, thriving, when we keep pushing ourselves and try to find it, we always find the way. That's beautiful to hear that. I'm very, very proud of you, Vandana. Very, very happy to hear that. And I have my next question to Nimmi. I mean, in this kind of media, there are lots and lots of challenges. You probably would have faced a lot of challenges. And what are the most difficult challenge or challenges you had ever come across in your career? Probably you would say everything, but I want you to just be specific about what are the challenges you face in a day-to-day.
To back up what Vandana has already said, I mean, COVID really upended the entire system and models that we were working with. We too have gone digital, and I don't want to dwell too much on that because Vandana has already done that. But I think what it has taken us in this past year and a half has been to actually educate the readership that it's okay to go online and read the paper. We do print once a month. We still have that generation that we deal with, which wants a hard copy and wants to know that we're around. So we do print once a month. But that has been our biggest challenge, to get the readership to actually make that little shift. saying it's equally valuable. It actually has a broader readership because we have, readership in Canada and India and Germany and countries we never thought would read our paper. So that has been, I think we're making good progress just based on the number of views and hits we are getting. I think people are settling in with the idea. Because, it was really weird, because when we weren't printing during COVID, that's when the community wakes up and says, "Arey, kahan gaye aap log? Kahan gaye aap log? You didn't support us." So we weren't there. So now you're asking because now you want your picture in. So it was, but anyway, now we have settling. So that has been a challenge. It's also this generational challenge that we keep facing. Like, this older generation wants this hard copy, but it's not just that, it's also the content that we struggle with a little bit on a day-to-day basis. Getting hold of the next generation. I think all our kids on this panel, I don't think any of them go seeking out an Indian American source of information, right? They identify more with the American rather than the Indian. So how to keep them engaged? I'm not going to say that we don't have all of them, but we don't have readership at all amongst them, but we do. But if we have to think and have a vision about what the future is, we have to start focusing on that. So we try to keep feeding them some stuff. At the same time, we have this other group, which has both its feet in India, right? And identifies with the Indian part of the Indian American. So they're more concerned about the politics there, the poverty, the charity raising, the philanthropy. Everything is happening for India rather than for Americans. Yeah. So to try to tell them that, you know what, your children live here. This is your future. Maybe you want to have a 50-50 vision that might help. That's another challenge. So to keep feeding both groups and keep them interested and engaged with the paper has been a bit of a... there are, day-to-day, I think everybody on the panel will say they all know about the publicity hungry people who call you, get mad at you if you don't listen to them. So you have that. But overall, it's a joy. It's fun. Yeah.
Very true. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been doing this forever and ever. I mean, from day one, I had known you guys. You were doing this one, for 3 decades, and you definitely, those are all the passion, the love you have for this. It doesn't matter how many ups you went or how many downs you went. You are still in there doing the same thing because the love for it. That's amazing. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Literature is one of the big things why we admire the Deepa.
Because people are so vociferous and so in their own, about their corner. It's difficult. So what she's doing is tough business, because you can't convince anyone you're being fair. So it's hard.
That's very true. Yeah, I can say that. Yeah, that's very true. And here is my next question. I have it for Sudha. Who are you indebted to for your success? And you're still muted, Sudha. Unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, sure. Long list of folks. Of course, this is not a show that's run just by a single person. Like any other organization, I'm not the only person running the whole show because first of all, thanks to SP Singh for recognizing me that I could run an RJ, I could be an RJ in the first place. And for RJ Balaji, the celebrity talk show host, for giving me the title called RJ Sudha. I would say my CTO called Anjana Manian, who actually helped me set up all these things, just like how you have these live broadcasts going. She helped me set up this Facebook. As I told you, I was completely ignorant of Facebook or YouTube or anything. I had zero social knowledge or anything of social media knowledge. So she helped me with all these things, helped me set up a Facebook account and YouTube account, a YouTube page and everything else. And my husband, of course, who kept telling me, you know what, there are millions of software engineers out there, and I don't want you to be one of them. I'm sure you're capable of something different, and considering that you're capable of talking a lot and networking and all that, you should try this. You should definitely give this a chance. So I trusted his instincts and went ahead. And my dad, of course, has enormous, unlimited wisdom of the kind of wisdom that he has. As one of you pointed out, the talk about religion. He's a person that he says, before I enter a show, he says, try not to take any sides. Try to stay away from politics. Try to stay away from, talk about facts, but don't take any sides. Don't take any sides on politics or religion, etc. And my brother, RJ Murali, I have given them now that I have been given the name RJ, so I have given the title of RJ to others also. My brother Murali, who's, I would say, is like a walking encyclopedia of so many things. I would say we talk to him about the New York Stock Exchange or the Bombay Stock Exchange or the weather in Mumbai or the Kerala, whatever you name it, he would talk about. He would have everything about Ilayaraja songs, A.R. Rahman songs. He would have give him 5 minutes notice and he would give me a paragraph about it. And then I have my very close friends, Pavitra, Radhika, Lata, Ramesh, and Ramesh Mitras, Ravi Ramaswamy, Ganesh Vadishwaran, and my dear daughter Sanjana Venkatesh, who constantly critiques me on what I wear and how, and helps me with editing and stuff like that. So those are the people I'm constantly indebted to.
That's beautiful to know. Yeah, that's really amazing. And of course, yeah, they say that to raise a child, you have to have, what is that? The whole village. I mean, when we take up a position like that or a career like that, of course, we need bigger than a village, maybe a country to raise us. And so you did an amazing job, like telling everybody's name.
At this point, practically on my own. The thing is, this job requires more skills taught. I have to talk, sales, everything else. Now, basically, when I need them advice from others, I seek upon them. But otherwise, basically, I'm on my own because they have all trained me at this point, and I'm good to go.
Awesome. Very, very, very happy to hear that. Very nice. And so this question is for Deepa. So I know I had seen some of the pictures you posted, and I was amazed, like how you like got an opportunity to do certain things that I had witnessed. I just wanted to ask, who are some of the most interesting people you have interviewed?
Well, yeah. There've been a few, all kinds of people, and that's the fun part of this job. I mean, you never know who you're going to meet going into a day of work. So when I was at the Daily Pilot, one of my very first jobs, I got a chance to interview Dennis Rodman. He used to live in Newport Beach at the time, and he was causing a lot of noise, and his neighbors were complaining. And so he was not giving interviews to anyone, and everyone was going through their attorney. But I figured I would go talk to his bartender. He owned a restaurant in Newport Beach, and he said, "Oh, Dennis is going to be here tomorrow. Why don't you come in?" So I did that, and of course he was there, and so I got to talk to him. And he said he was going to run for city council. It became like a big deal. So that was one of my first like big celebrity interviews. But there've been many after that. I talked to Mick Fleetwood. I mean, being a big music fan, I was blown away. Just having a really nice conversation, sitting in a Costco of all places, because he happened to be selling his brand of wine. So I was just sitting there for an hour, like chatting away with him as he was signing autographs and stuff like that. And then one of the most unforgettable interviews, though, I mean, because I cover religion and I'm passionate about covering religion, is having a chance to speak to the Dalai Lama. he was here. He was in Orange County for his 80th birthday, celebrating his 80th birthday. And so I ended up interviewing him at the Anaheim Ducks locker room. That's where he was sitting. So it was really very surreal to like sit down in a locker room and talk to him. And after we finished the interview, we had a photo. I had a photo with him, and which he requested, by the way. And then he was like, can you hold my hand and take me to the stage, because he was due to go give his speech. So it was very interesting because I walked him to the stage. He was like, I have bad knees, I can't get up, so can you help? That was really, I mean, that was surreal. I don't have words for once to describe an experience like that. But I think really, Rose, some of the most memorable interviews that I really value are of like ordinary people who do extraordinary things. I think more than any celebrity interview, I think those have so much value. For example, this one guy, he was a homeless guy actually, but he was from Italy, and he made friends at Starbucks by drawing portraits of people on, the coffee cup lids. So he would draw portraits of them, and they hung it up on the Christmas tree. So that became like a big deal. And the people in that Starbucks, being in Newport Beach, it was, like an upscale Starbucks, and people had money. So they managed to get him a passport and send him back to Italy, to his hometown. I mean, that guy had made such a big impression on me. I mean, he sent me letters from after he went back to his little village in Italy. So it's people like that who really stay with you for a long time. I mean, you never forget those stories. And really, yeah.
That's very true. Yeah, those kind of things really I mean, celebrities, of course, they become celebrities because, they got the opportunity maybe, or they had, somebody supported them, or some celebrities really, they become with their own hard work, and, it's hard earned by their own talents and expertise. But sometimes, these kind of stories really impress me too. And, especially my recent visit, like in September, I think in India, who all the people I interviewed, you won't even believe. I mean, I had the women empowerment program, which for Spring Nectar TV I kind of did. So I interviewed, people like all these movie stars, and with glitter and gorgeous people. Instead of going behind them, I literally went behind, a woman who was literally sitting next to the, the Sherupatikkam, like who, like if the slippers are torn or shoes were torn, what do you call them? Blacksmith, right? The person who stitches your slipper. And the wife brings him a small pot of food. And he was trying to make that 15 rupees to stitch that slipper for somebody. But this woman sitting next to him, feeding him, not even in spoon, but with hand, and the kanji, like it's a porridge. And then I really wanted to talk to her, what it means to her. She's a woman too. And as soon as he was done, he went to the restroom or somewhere. So another person came with another 15 rupees work, and this woman started stitching that slipper. So she knows the work too. But she still decided to stay home, cook for him, feed the children, took the children to the school. And I spoke to her. And that was the biggest, inspiration to me. And then I interviewed one of the ladies who was selling the vegetables and the kire. Like, what do you call it? Kire is like a different kinds of spinaches. This woman probably was 75 or 80-year-old old lady. And she took a whole lot of spinach. It was even like she couldn't even hold it on her head, door to door, and knocking, whether you want to buy it or not. The look of her, how hard she works. She doesn't even take the elevator. She walks because she had to go every house. She walks every house, knocks at the door, and come to everybody's house. And Amma wangi kongo, like please buy one katte. This is very healthy. You know what kind of marketing she herself does to sell that spinach. Even if you don't want the yesterday's spinach is still sitting in your fridge, you wanted to buy and just keep it. Just for the sake of it, because of her hard work. So these are all the people, as you said, like the guy from the Italy, sometimes those kind of hardworking women make my heart melt. So that's really inspiring. I mean, I thought I'm not part of the interview. I'm supposed to only ask questions, but sometimes I get excited and tell my stories to you guys. And I have my next question to Vandana. What is India Current's editorial focus for future?
Nimmi, Rose, we've been always little different from India West because we were a monthly magazine. We also had, we were limited by capacity. So we chose to stay away from like reportage, going and reporting on various events that were happening. Nevertheless, for us, it's really been showcasing um, what the community is doing. But we would always do previews. And I think those of you who've read us India Currents would recognize that. This was also a way for us to avoid all the perils of who we can cover, where we can go. Again, limited means. So we found a path. So there in our early years, we did a lot of cultural coverage. It was a process of learning for me as well. Really, what I've learned about Hindustani music and Carnatic music and the different art forms, I've learned after coming to America. I did not know any of this when I was actually living in India. But as our community changed, so did our editorial focus, because we were really a reflection of the community. Remember what I said earlier? We had community members that were writing the stories. We would edit it, we would curate the best stories, we'd publish a magazine. So because the readers were changing, their needs were changing, as a result, the content was changing. And in a lot of ways, we documented the history of Indian immigration to the Silicon Valley. And these were all stories, in a way, they were also reflecting my stories. I came here as a new one, I became a young mother, and then I had my in laws that were living with me. So, how do you raise children in that kind of atmosphere? What resources are available for um, folks that are serving, what do they call it? There's to the sandwich generation. We have childcare as well as elder care responsibilities. So all of these stories that touched my life found its way into the pages of India Currents. The H1 visa, my brother came here on an H1 visa, his wife was an H4. So all the issues that stemmed around those, these were affecting all our lives. They touched our lives. So we did that. Today, again, the content evolves, right? We of course still do a lot of culture stuff because that's still of interest. Our primary readers are still first generation immigrants. And Nimmi, like you mentioned, a lot when we became digital, a lot of our readers called and they complained and complained, and they said, we do not understand the digital one, I'm not going to read. So yes, indeed, we did lose some of our very loyal readers. But I really hats off to the seniors here who have taken that initiative to actually get plugged in digitally. And we still have a number of readers. We have some very, very loyal readers that have followed us over the years. So
So
today,
today,
we also do a lot of stories that are for public good. I mentioned earlier that we also apply for grants. So, for example, we currently have a grant from the state of California to do outreach around their initiative called Stop the Hate. There were a lot of incidents of API hate, and so the state actually ran uh, they published an RFP. We applied. We were one of the benefactors for that. So, Stop the Hate. Anytime you get a grant that's for a project, it mandates you have to do some coverage around that, because we write all these things. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this, and somebody gives you the money. You've got to do that, because at the end of which you have to give a report. So we try to do a lot of stuff for public good, whether it's talking about the census. So we talk a lot about culture stuff because that's what brings the people here. But then we have to sneak in some information about public good. Why is it important to talk about the census? Why it's important to talk about voting? Why it's important to register and vote? So you will notice on our, content that we actually have that this is a very deliberate and thought out process that we want to morph into, not just giving desi news for desi people. There are a number of organizations that are doing that. That is important. But at the same time, we are offering something that others are not. And the third most important thing is our ability to do storytelling through so many different voices. We've really become intentional about the fact that we are helping promote writers of color. And every year we work with dozens and dozens and dozens of writers. Many of our writers and interns have gone on to become very successful in their craft. They've become either columnists for mainstream magazines, newspapers, or they're pursuing writing as, as a professor or something like that, or that they have published books. And we are super excited when any of our previous writers or interns actually publishes a book, because we ended up playing a role in their writing journey. We help, we mentor, we train a new generation of writers. And that's a way in which we connect with the new generation. And Nimmi, this is for you, because ways in which you can connect with the new generation, you have to offer them something different. And we have found that this is successful, for us. I'd also like to share a few stories that I'm really proud of in the last 2 years. We got some additional funding from from USC, University of Southern California, to do some in-depth studies. Now, remember, anything in-depth requires resources. Again, for a resource-strapped organization like ours, we're always scrounging. How can we do this? How can we do this? How can we do this? But there are 3 series that we did. One is called Road Warriors. This is about truck drivers, long haul truck drivers, largely Sikh, Punjabi truck drivers in California. You can search on our site and search by that term, you'll find it. Found out the health impact on Punjabi Punjabi truck drivers. Because if they were sitting all the time and driving long and back and forth, how did it affect their health? What did they do for their food? What were their what does the law actually mandate? How were they able to meet that? It's a very interesting idea and very interesting series. Also, nobody had ever done that before. So for us, that series was interesting. Again, it happened around the pandemic. The second series we did, we call it Masala Heroes. Now, you remember during the pandemic, all of us sat at home, we ordered on Amazon, we got stuff delivered, and maybe some of us went to the grocery stores. Do you remember the Indian grocery stores were never closed? Never, through the pandemic. You and I had the luxury of sitting home, but we also had the comfort of knowing that if we went and looked for a dosa batter or looked for rice and dal and masala and karela and everything, it was actually there at the store. So these were actually heroes that were actually not acknowledged by our community, that they did a service that was of such tremendous value to the community at large. And the third series we did, we call it the Desi Dost Project, which was talking with women, again, during the pandemic when cases of domestic violence spiked. We started investigating that. And we realized that the format that I had worked at Narika for many years, so I was quite aware of the domestic violence work and what it requires to earn people's trust. And so 2 of my reporters actually worked on almost like a year-long project, talking with women, documenting their stories. We did audio stories, we did written stories, we did really very in-depth coverage, one that got recognized by the whole state. We got recognized by the DV community, by the universities, by the boards of various organizations, by the Cal Journalism Awards, by the San Francisco Press Club Awards for all of these stories. And these have just happened in the last 2 years. We are currently working on another in depth story investigative series that is talking about the Punjabi farmers. You know, when we were doing this study with the with the truck drivers, we actually got very well connected with the Punjabi community in Central California. And so then it was giving us an idea like, oh, what else can we do with this? So the farmers and their, the water woes. Now we don't have a drought, so maybe those things will change. But that's our current in-depth work that we're working on. So these are some of the stories that I'm really working on.
Beautiful. Very nice. Very nice. I mean, that's amazing. Every single one has its own impact on not only just one community, but overall. That's very beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Vandana. That's very beautiful. And the next question I have is for Nimmi. It's kind of a little interesting. What are the best part of the job as well as the worst part of the job? The best and worst of your work.
Best and worst. The best. Well, I think the double-edged. Having an insight into the community is interesting, always. But having to also deal with the community can be a pain. So I guess it's a double-edged sword in that sense. But really, to have, we have people from government and elsewhere always calling and checking with us, what does the community think about certain things or whatever. And to be able to have an answer for that is always feels that we are connected, we are doing our job, we are for the community kind of thing. So that's a really good thing. Meeting all kinds of people, really, and having access to all kinds of industry, whether it's going to a racetrack or whether it is, meeting a celebrity chef or, whatever it might be. Working with people who are, I don't know what your audience here is, red light district, whatever it is that we're dealing with, so it's wonderful to meet people across the board. What else? Some of my fun moments have been meeting, I was laughing when she talked about Dennis Rodman. I remember interviewing Viv Richards and him being just so you have those fun moments, and you know what, Vandana? I remember talking to Arvind a long ago. All of you know about Arvind over here, and we got a lot of flack because I was one of the earliest to he was always very open about his orientation, but we were one of the first to write about it. And I remember people saying, "Iski kya zarurat thi?" As it was say it was contagious or something. But it was so you have all those kind of things. So so the community is very interesting. So again it brings you insight into what the community is thinking. But they can also be painful, So that's what, So, but it's basically a joy, really. Yeah.
So you didn't want to say the worst yet.
No, I did.
Okay. All right. So let's just leave it. Yeah, that's very beautiful. Thank you so much. That's really beautiful. And the next question I have is for Sudha. What were the transferable skills from your software job that you could utilize here and what were the ones that you had to begin learning and you had to learn in order to survive as a RJ?
I practically didn't think I had any skills that I could transfer from my software engineering job until I started speaking. When I was talking, when I was conducting meetings and talking to customers as a software engineer, my customers used to appreciate my speaking skills and the details in which I was communicating to them. A software detail, not a not like a fun or what an event-based talking or whatever it is. But then I started transferring those communications to events or movies or sports, even sports details or something like that. So, and then I realized, okay, maybe I can even transfer those communication skills to talk about general things in life and then communicate and then connect to my listeners, not just my customers, not my telecom customers, but also to the general audience. So the communication skills helped me a lot. And I also my written skills were reasonably accepted by my corporate American folks. So that helped me in my posts, my whatever, and attracting customers or whatever it is. And but then I was not sure about my sales or marketing pitches. What would I do? Etc. I would go to India Currents or I would go to the Central Magazine or anything, but any of those things that had, as you said, the small ads that would come up with, okay, we are selling this and so we're having this matrimonial company that we're doing. So I would just pick up that number or email ID and then send an email to them or talk to them saying, okay, my name is RJ Sudha. What? RJ Sudha, what? And then I'm the host of Tamizh Suvai. Tamizh Suvai? No, I haven't heard of this Tamizh Suvai. Who are you? That kind of conversation. So I had to market. I had to beef up my marketing skills and I said things like that. So I had to talk as if I've been in this industry for long enough. So slowly, by steadily, I had to build up my speaking skills in a different direction, not just technical direction. And then once I could bring them on to my show, that required collecting some funds from them. So I needed sponsorship, like what Vandana was saying. I needed some money to run the show because the Radio Mirchi 1310 said, unless you pay me $300 for every show that you come in, we can't allow you to speak. So I had to generate some sponsorship amount. So I had to make some money to come and speak on the show. So that amount was being collected through my sponsors that I was able to do successfully. In fact, in the second year, I was able to even make profits. It was the first company, I think, as one of my friends told me, this is the first company I've heard of that made profit even the second year in its existence. So with that, my financial skills also started growing. I could know how to do balance sheets. I've never done that before. I mean, running a company, running balance sheets and talking to customers, everything else was new to me. Other than writing technical specs, I didn't know anything at all. So all these things helped me, and I learned them all on the go. So that is all I have learned. And of course, social media presence. I've now become a pro at social media. I post something almost every day on Facebook, whether people like it or not. But it looks like people like my posts. I seem to be getting at least 50 odd comments on every silly post I make.
I saw your idli competition this morning when I was scrolling through that. Oh, that sounds interesting. Idli competition. And I was going to make some idli and send it to you anyway. No, I'm just joking. I'm good at making regular idli. How will I be winning the competition?
No, you should. So I try to make I try to make very simple conversations. I make myself very approachable. I don't make myself look like a unapproachable person. So that's why I go to the nearest chart bhavan and then tell people, oh, this is what I had. And I try to encourage small businesses. I try to encourage women-run businesses, etc. So anything I post, it becomes an instant hit, and people say, oh, the one you recommended seems to be very good. So I'm not expecting anything back from the business, but it's just that this pleasure of sharing makes me feel good. So all these things have made me, I don't know. I don't want to call myself a celebrity, but it seems like I've become quite popular through my posts.
Awesome, awesome. That's really nice to know. I mean, of course you are. I mean, every single one of you are celebrities in your own merits. I mean, what you do and how you had, brought this whole thing. And definitely, you deserve that word behind your name. That's
I'm
really...
I'm not sure if I want to call myself celebrity, but there is definitely some kind of a good people following. I've been posting. There is good recognition for what I've been doing. So my Facebook and Instagram followers keenly following me and what I'm saying, which I follow.
Beautiful, beautiful. Very, very, very well said. And but one thing, Nimmi, I wanted to find out. I mean, I have a question for Deepa, and I'm supposed to come a little later. Since she was talking about the social media, I tried to search you on Facebook. You're not there. Not on Instagram. Not on LinkedIn. I tried everywhere. I was like, and then luckily I had your phone number, so I contacted you. I was like, how can I get hold of her? So how do you survive without all this social media, magic in this century?
Well, the newspaper has exposed.
True. You are pretty famous without all this social media, of course.
Nothing new to say.
I'm quite happy doing my cooking and gardening on my own and traveling on my own. So I figured I really have nothing to share other than my friends. So I've left it at that.
No, you don't have to share, but be there.
Rose, because I'd have volunteered as a judge otherwise.
Very true. True. And my next question is for Deepa. Have you ever faced, racism or hate as a reporter of color? Because I especially in a religion, I mean, you briefly mentioned earlier, but have you in person, faced any of those difficulties?
Well, I mean, having worked in Orange County for 20 years, 20 years ago, it was more white. It was definitely more Christian, and less diverse. So I think from day one, it was an issue for me. But I think over the years, I got better and better dealing with it. And I just learned not to take it personally. Almost on a daily basis. When I was at the register, I would get emails or phone calls almost on a daily basis that targeted my perceived religion or race or nationality. And I was surprised how many people didn't know I was Indian or Hindu. One person even, I mean, it would depend on the day's story, right? I mean, I wrote about this woman who cooked meals at the Garden Grove Mosque. Her meals were really famous. She's actually from Madras. It was one of the few interviews, probably the only interview I did in Tamizh, which was really thrilling for me personally. But I really loved the way the story came out. But one reader took offense because it was after 9/11, and that person felt like I shouldn't have written about a Muslim in the community, and complained to my editor and said, well, Deepa Bharath sounds like a good old-fashioned Muslim name. That's why she's sympathetic to Muslims. So it's like, if I write about Muslims, I'm a Muslim. If I write about Latinos, I have to go back where I came from. Or, if I write about if I write about Arabs, I'm an Arab. It was like the flavor of the day, kind of hate. But and people have complained to my editors as well, because I was kind of asking for it, right? I mean, I was writing about religion, race, social justice issues, and I wrote about Islamist extremism. I wrote about white nationalism. So, I mean, I have no business complaining about emails I get, but, my editors, I have to say, throughout the years have been so extremely supportive of everything I did. They absolutely stood by me. I mean, these were white men who stood by me, right? I mean, I find that I found that and still find it amazing that they did that. And but for that kind of support and all the women in the newsroom who kind of, circled the wagons. I think in this country, it's been just an amazing, amazing experience working in different newsrooms. We're like a family, really. And I did not get that, working for 2 years in India, but I got it here. And I find that pretty amazing. And I'm very, very grateful for that. And as far as, racism and hate and everything that comes along with it, I think just, I understand that people are bitter, people are angry, people are going through their own personal stuff. And sometimes that manifests, in anger towards someone else. It's misdirected anger. And that's how I look at it. And, so I just hit delete or move on. That's pretty much the way I've been dealing with it.
Very well said. Yeah, very well said. Yeah, amazing. I know that's one of the things that I was since it's a religion writing, it's very common, right? So I just wanted to find out about it. And this next question is for
I want to say that you have to go. So I have no idea running.
We are almost, we are closing it. Like one last question for everybody, or if you have to go, I will let you go. I mean, I covered pretty much most of it. I will definitely let you go, but I have one question for everyone else, and I can just ask. So thank you so much, Vandana. I really appreciate you being with us and give us a lot of input about what you do, and definitely the next generation will learn quite a bit from your speech. And thank you so much for joining. Of course, I will definitely let you go now, and I have one question for every single one of you, and then I will let you go. So we are almost towards the end.
Thank you all. And I would want to say what amazing women you are. I'm just so delighted that I got to spend this evening with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That's really amazing. I mean, she was wonderful. And I have a question for Nimmi. And you told us that, I mean, in your bio, I read that you published some books, 1 or 2 books. Just give us a little insight about it. What is it about, and who or the audience, and what kind of book it is? I mean, I'm kind of guessing it's philosophy, so I'm going to buy one from you. But you had published 2 of them, so I would like to know about it.
Yes, absolutely. I follow up
Vandana Rose, and very, very active at the Chimya Mission here in Tustin. And Swami Ishwarananda, who's there, he's obviously an awesome teacher. I've learned much from him, and along with him, published. So we had the founders' centenary celebrations. As part of that, we published a book. Together we wrote one, and actually we called it Life of I. So, instead of we punned on the life of pi, because it was about ego, right? And, the ultimate thing is to get rid of your ego. So that was one. So it was like a fictionalized Vedanta, full of teaching, really. So that's what, focusing on all the different margas, the different yogas that we have. The other one that we also did was again on Vedanta, and again I worked with Swami Ishwarananda on that. The 2 of us published it together, and it was also based on a series of talks, which is literally like a coffee table thing. You pick it up and you have one essay to think of for the day. So it would, on a one value for the day to practice. So that was what the 2 books were about. Yeah, so that's it. Don't want to go on talking about myself. Yeah.
Come on, this is supposed to be, you're supposed to brag about yourself. And that's why I brought you. And you're like, I don't want to talk about myself. I don't want to say what. No, that's no, you're doing a wonderful job, but you're not talking about you at all. I'm just saying it because I know you're always so tender in that sense. You're like always, down to earth. You don't want to say anything about yourself. Even when I asked you for the bio, 2 word about you. You had in this field for a million years, and then 2 word. How can it be possible? So I searched here and there on the internet. alternate and put some extra ones here and there. Wonderful, Nimmi. Thank you so much. And my next question is one more question for Sudha. How do you see the future of your radio?
All right. Before I talk about the future of my radio, I'd like to say a few things about advice for women in general. You don't have to be an RJ to be speaking on a platform. Communication is very important for women. Whether you're talking to your spouse, your parents, or your children, or colleagues, or even to your boss, it's better to speak out in clear terms what's in your mind. That's very important. And these days, if you can't speak, just text them. Sometimes there can be some silent wars going on in your family or with your boss at your workplace or whatever it is, with peers or whatever it is. Send them a mail or send them a text saying, you know what, this something is bothering me about this promotion, or there's something about children's education or teacher or professor or whatever it is. But let's get it out of our minds and let's talk about it, kind of thing. Keep a conversation going. My own mother used to never talk anything out. She used to internalize many of her problems. She passed away about 3 years ago. But I noticed that many women of the previous generation, and some of them even now, tend to internalize their problems. And I don't want that to happen. And if you find some women who are still alone, say especially some single women, or even now they're married or they're lost in the family with the dominant men or whatever, pull them out, talk them over for bring them over for a cup of coffee or whatever things, and a lot of things can come out over a cup of coffee. So I would really suggest that don't let any woman be alone. Talk to them or make them talk, and communication is a key. You don't have to be an RJ to be very communicative. You don't have to have a platform to be communicative. That was my main idea for all women in this who are listening to this show. And coming to what I would like to have Tamizh Suvai, how I would like to see Tamizh Suvai in future is, I know it's a long shot, but I would like to be the next Oprah Winfrey for the South Asian community. Not in terms of the wealth that she has accumulated, but in terms of
why not?
Why not? Making hard conversations, articulate everybody, finding out what's going on, and making conversations. Basically, that's it. I just want to make conversations with people, with women, men, I don't care, with children, and finding out what's going on in their mind and making them feel comfortable and bringing the best out of them.
That is very beautiful. Very beautiful, yeah. And I really wish your dreams to come true. I will definitely pray for that, and it will. I mean, so don't say financially, boy. If it happens, why not take it? Enjoy it. We have only short term in this world, and enjoy it. And my next question is true. That's a wonderful message for the women, yeah. And my next question is to actually for both Nimmi as well as to Deepa. What is empowering women means to you? First, I'll go with Nimmi.
This might sound a little bit radical, but to not have a Women's Day, because that to me would be equality. Because we don't have a Men's Day, they don't feel the necessity.
So that's every day. That's every day for them. So we have to have one day for us. So let's enjoy that.
I'd like to be there every day. Literally, that's what I mean.
So yeah, I think we're making strides. But then you always have these Supreme Court judgments that come out and like anti-abortion and, put you on the back feet and, there you are, trying to fight it again, doing what you can do from your bit. But Empowerment is freedom to do what you want to do. So I'm hoping that will be, yeah.
Okay, so this is for Deepa. Same question. What do you think? Women empowerment. What does it mean to you?
Well, I think Nimmi answered it so well. I'm not a big fan of Women's Day either, because to me that means that
Sorry.
to me that just means that we still need a Women's Day, because we are not there yet. And I think I'd like to see a day when we just don't need a Women's Day, because women are where they should be and where they should have been all along. That's the world I would like to see. And to me, I have a 20-year-old son, and I've raised him to believe that women can do anything he can do. and to me, raising a male feminist is as important as raising women who are feminists, or more important. So I hope that's gotten into his head, and as a mother and as a woman, I think that would be the most important we could do.
True. That itself is women empowerment. That is what it means to you. So, empowering, first of all, the men makes the women get better. If the men treats the women the right way, naturally it all happens how it's supposed to happen. That's probably what it is. I mean, in some of the communities, it's not there yet. As I said, the Tamil poem, ஏட்டையும் பெண்கள் தொடுவது, one of the phrases was pretty strong, and it was only a dream of Bharatiya. It was what he dreamt about the women in future. So at that time it was not available even in his own house. So that's what I heard. So I really believe in what you both said about it, and thank you so much for that insight. And we almost came to the end of this conversation. So I have one final saying about to all the listeners, and also to all the women listeners especially. And so thank you so much for all of you to join me and give your insights about what your work means to you, and also to the community and to the world. And that was really amazing. Thank you again. And as we came to the end of our conversation, I would like to reinstate to all the beautiful women out there: imagine a gender equal world, a world that is free of bias, stereotypes, and discrimination, a world that's diverse, equitable, and inclusive, a world where difference is valued and celebrated. Together, we can forge women's equality. Collectively, we can do it. It's very possible. Celebrate women's achievements. Make sure to raise awareness wherever and whenever it is possible. As Deepa and Nimmi said, create it within your own house with the boy children, so that when we give them the insight, they will treat the women better out there. So that is very, very beautiful saying that they both brought out too. Women belong in everyone's life. Yes, I mean everyone and everywhere in the world. And very happy to bring these amazing, incredible and talented women on this platform on International Women's History Month. Today is the last day of March, which is sponsored and supported, of course, by Spring Nectar Foundation for Indian Music and Heritage. I would like to express my sincere thanks to all of them for sparing their precious time with us to share their experiences and expertise. Also, my best wishes to all the women out there around the world who have made immense contribution, not only to their families, but to the world throughout the history. Women's History Month is an important reminder of the many achievements of women and their remarkable contributions to society. I am very happy that I was able to bring some incredible women in the fields of music, dance, fine arts, science, medicine, technology, news media, radio, television, and even movie industry throughout this month of March. On every weekend through these broadcasts, we extend our appreciation to all the brilliant women who have broken barriers, shattered stereotypes, and pioneered in their respective fields. My special thanks to these four gorgeous ladies for the positive impact they had created on our society and for being a source of inspiration to this and many generations. We also express our gratitude to all the organizations, viewers, our own men in our household who support us to do our best to go to our maximum heights, and also every individuals out there who has worked hard to promote gender equality to ensure that women's voices are heard. All their tireless efforts have helped advance the cause of women's rights and have made a meaningful differences. So once again, congratulations to all the exceptional women out there who had made a history and continue to do so. Your achievements and contributions have made our world a better place to live. And for that, we are all forever grateful. Happy Women's History Month. பட்டங்கள் ஆழ்வதும் சட்டங்கள் செய்வதும் பாரினில் பெண்கள் நடத்த வந்தோம் எட்டும் அறிவினில் ஆணுக்கிங்கே பெண் இளைப்பிள்ளை காணென்று கும்மியடி. Thank you so much for joining me and watching this beautiful episode, and I will definitely come back with yet another episode and broadcast with yet another beautiful topic. Until then, I'll say a goodbye now and love you all. See you soon. Bye.